Hey, what's up guys? It's Syrian here, and what I have for you today is some extra tasty, extra awesome back-to-back double nuclear gameplay. That's right, you heard me properly. That's back-to-back double nukes, 4 nuclears in 2 games. During these games I'm using my trusty old P06 and my even trustier old Weevil, so I think it'd be pretty funny to show this video to a console player, since both those guns are considered bad on console. Anyway, it's pretty awesome stuff, if I do say so myself. So, sit back and enjoy while I tell you guys what I want to talk about today. Now, this is going to be one of my more serious, well, one of the more serious videos I'll ever do on Black Ops 3. I'm going to go through the 5 things that I think really spoil the game on PC more than anything else. It is important to remember that I do play on PC, so if you play on console and you can't relate to any of these problems, that's probably why. Please keep in mind that while watching, that I really, really wanted to love this game. I loved Black Ops 2, and I was sure Treyarch would make another fantastic game. So please don't take me for someone who just bashes the newest COD because it's different from the old COD. I'm not like that. And these are real issues that do plague the game on PC that many, many players complain about. It's not just me. At this point, it seems quite clear that Treyarch really doesn't care in the slightest about PC players, in spite of all that they said in the lead up to release. So it's unlikely that any of these problems will ever be intentionally fixed. But I'm going to list them anyway because they're what piss me off the most about Black Ops 3 and are the main reason that it ranks so lowly for me compared to other Call of Duty games. So yeah, let's start with number 1, the ultimate, the big problem that really takes the fun out of the game more than anything else. It's quite sad because this is a problem that they could fix overnight. And the problem I'm talking about, some of you may be able to guess, is of course controllers having aim assist on PC. Now, I was debating whether or not to dedicate an entire video to this issue, and I may still need to do that, but I couldn't very well leave it off this list when it is by far the most frustrating thing for me about Black Ops 3 on PC. I'm going to get pretty in-depth about this, so please bear with me. First, I would like to stress that I have absolutely nothing against anyone who plays on console. Play on whatever platform you want to, it's none of my business. I really don't care. But now that that's out of the way, let me say that controller users on PC are the biggest problem in the entire game. And no, I'm not exaggerating, they ruin the game more than any of the other issues that I'm going to talk about today. I can already hear people saying, you know, what's the problem with controller users? They have a disadvantage compared to people who use keyboard and mouse. The reason I can hear this already is because it's a question I've been asked so many times, and it's a conversation I've had so many times in the past. But it's a good question, so I'm glad you asked. The issue is with the second part of that sentence. In Black Ops 2, people who played on PC with a controller genuinely were at a disadvantage compared to keyboard and mouse users. And I don't think I saw even one controller in all my 1500 plus hours on Black Ops 2. This is because you got little to no aim assist when playing on PC with a controller. But in Black Ops 3, if you plug a controller in, you get aim assist just the exact same way you would if you were playing on console. Now, this probably wouldn't be such a big problem if the aim assist on Black Ops 3 wasn't so absurdly strong. In Black Ops 3, the aim assist, it's simply way too strong. There are people who are absolutely terrible with keyboard and mouse, and they will still drop you instantly with a controller because the aim assist is that strong. I've even seen console players complain about how strong it is because, you know, they had come from Black Ops 2 where you had to do most of the aiming for yourself, and the aim assist was actually aim assist. In Black Ops 3, it's so strong that in a great many situations, you actually don't even have to touch the analog stick in order to kill people. That's right, there are situations where you don't have to aim for yourself because the game is doing it all for you. Let me explain, if you can't figure it out, let me explain why this is such a bad thing on PC compared to console. Although I would argue that it's a bad thing on console as well. The reason it's such an objectionable mechanic on PC is because it completely disregards how the game is played by keyboard and mouse users. For example, when I'm in close quarters in a combat situation, in a 1v1 gunfight, my first instinct is to jump or slide and back myself to get my aim back on target before the enemy does. Uh, because I'm a good shot with a keyboard and mouse, I'm usually able to pull this off, because my dash or jump is able to throw off the enemy's aim and give me the time I need to kill them before they can get back on target, right? Makes sense. My reactions, my aim is better than the enemy's, I win the gunfight. It's deserving. It's skill versus skill, and the more skilled player wins. Now, what happens when I do this exact same thing with a controller user instead of a keyboard and mouse user? Well, I jump or dash or slide, and the aim assist simply locks onto a pixel, tracks me perfectly with inhuman reaction times and inhuman precision. It's painfully obvious when someone's using a controller, to the point that I usually don't even need to watch the kill cam anymore. I can tell simply from how fast I die whether or not someone's using a controller. Almost nobody on keyboard and mouse kills me as quickly as your average Joe does with a controller. Only the absolute best shots on PC can even come close to killing as fast as a controller does, and none of them can do it with the sort of consistency that even a mediocre controller user manages. Let me please stress that you do not need to be a good player in order to kill quickly with a controller, and herein lies the problem. A controller takes someone who is poor, or average, or above average, or whatever with mouse and keyboard, and turns them into a more consistently better shot than anyone using a mouse and keyboard. Sure, they might not be able to turn as quickly, mobility might be an issue, they might not be able to snap from target to target as quickly as you can do with a mouse and keyboard, but none of that matters in the slightest. It completely negates two of the most important parts of being good at Black Ops 3. First, being a good shot with mouse and keyboard. That doesn't matter against a controller user. Being excellent at using the movement system to throw people's aim off in close quarters combat, giving you more time to outgun them, that doesn't matter against a controller user because it simply doesn't work. I can jump and dash around as unpredictably as I like. It won't throw off a controller user's aim for even a split second because they aren't the ones trying to track my movements. The game is tracking me for them. I know I'm harping on about this issue a lot, but I really, really want to make it clear just how big a problem they are and why it's a problem at all on PC. You know, I get people come into my stream all the time and ask me what's wrong with controllers. Because so many people are still under the assumption that keyboard and mouse is just superior to controller in every way. And without aim assist, or with aim assist that wasn't as strong, that would definitely be true. But unfortunately, we don't live in a world where controllers don't have aim assist. And as a result, the thinking that keyboard and mouse beats controller in every aspect is simply incorrect. That is no longer true in Black Ops 3. Please let me be clear as well that this is not a case of me doing badly against controller users and getting upset because of it. I do fine against controller users just the same way I do fine basically every single game I play. Anyone who's watched my gameplay will know that. The fact that good players can still beat controller users by playing better than they do is completely and utterly immaterial. When I play against people who are wall hacking or people who are just soft aimbotting, you know, they're aimbotting, but they're not spinning in the map doing 360s, getting quad headshot feeds, so you can't even do anything. You know, people who are just, they're using an aimbot, but they're not doing it to the point that they'll just kill you instantly on spawn over and over again. Those sort of people. I can beat a lot of them because they're usually really bad at the game. That's why they're using cheats in the first place, because they need that unfair advantage to do well. The fact that I can beat them, does that mean that we should simply allow people to use wall hacks and aimbots because the best players on PC can do better than those people anyway? Of course not. And now you see how absurd that reasoning sounds. You know, the only difference is that aimbots are against the rules and controllers are not. Overwatch actually had this exact same issue during the beta. People complained, and they removed aim assist from controllers on PC. Treyarch should have done so a long time ago, but for some reason they have not, and I'm going to get into why with the next issue. So, now that I have that off my chest, we can move on to the other issues with the game, and I figure I may as well start with one that sort of links into all the other issues, including the controller one above. What I'm talking about is Treyarch's attitude towards PC gamers and the PC version of Black Ops 3. In spite of what they were saying prior to release, it has never been more evident that Treyarch does not care in the slightest about their PC player base or what the PC version of the game is like. It's a very sad situation because before Black Ops 3 came along, Treyarch had developed a very loyal following on PC. I was amongst that loyal following, but it seems that either things have changed since Black Ops 2 or Treyarch simply never cared about PC, and the fact that their previous games were so good on PC was simply nothing more than a happy little accident. Let's talk about why it's so obvious that they don't care about PC. First things first, not addressing the controller issue, mentioned before, even though PC players have been complaining about it since day one. Secondly, the PC port is horribly optimized. It hogs way too many resources given the size of the maps and the number of players, and the fact that the game is not a vast graphical improvement on Black Ops 2, which ran beautifully on PC. Thirdly, and probably most worryingly, the way that they've made balance changes clearly geared towards console, and then simply ported them all to PC with absolutely no thought as to how the game is played there. Firstly, they completely ignored how brokenly overpowered the snipers are on PC, especially the Draken and the P06. Then, as if that wasn't bad enough, let me list off some of the changes they've made that simply don't make any sense on the PC version. First, they buffed the Brecci and the Haymaker. Both these shotguns were already incredibly powerful, the Haymaker slightly worse than the Brecci, but really not by that much. They were crying out for a nerf on PC, with tons of people already using them and doing really well with them. Instead, they were buffed, and now they're more overused than ever. This would be akin to, Infinity Ward buffing the Akimbo models at the start of Modern Warfare 2 instead of nerfing them. Can you imagine the outcry that would have happened if that had been the case? Second, they buffed the Locus. This is less of an issue, but the Locus, along with all the other snipers, was already far too strong on PC. Again, it needed a nerf, not a buff. Third, nerfing the M8A7 and the XR2. The assault rifles on PC are trashed here. Every other weapon class is superior, including even the pistols. Assault rifles needed an across-the-board buff on PC to make them competitive with the blatantly broken sniper rifles. Instead, Treyarch nerfed the only two ARs that were actually somewhat decent. The M8A7 and the XR2 were far and away the best assault rifles on PC. The M8 was hit harder than the XR2, but both suffered and both are now not very good. Fourth, nerfing rapid fire for burst weapons. The only burst weapon that was ever overpowered on PC was the P06, and that is still the case. Possibly the Dredge, you could argue, but I don't really think the Dredge is imbalanced at all. But by nerfing rapid fire on PC, Treyarch further reduced the reusability of weapons that were already underused on PC. I'm talking about the weapons like the Pharaoh, the M8A7, and the XR2. If you used any of those weapons prior to the rapid fire nerf, you wanted to use rapid fire on them because it made them that much more effective, and it made them compete with the auto weapons. It really helped make them more competitive on PC, where a second, third, and fourth burst were required far more often than on console. After the nerf, rapid fire only increases the fire rate during the burst. As a result, it's a fairly useless attachment for burst weapons now. This is, by getting rid of rapid fire used to reduce the delay between bursts. It was really helpful. It was really important. By getting rid of that and combining that with a severe fire rate nerf to the M8A7, it really resulted in a major fall from grace. And there is now not even one assault rifle on PC that I consider worth using, even for variety's sake. The buffs to ARs only reduced recoil and idle sway, neither of which were the issues that the ARs had on PC. And finally, another example is nerfing the Scythe. Again, it was something that was overused on console, but it wasn't an issue on PC. The Scythe is now no longer really worth using because it takes so long to charge, And meanwhile, the Purifier still runs rampant, far more powerful than the Scythe ever was, because it's not very good on console. And it doesn't look like they're ever going to change that. So, a complete lack of care and attention for the PC community has very quickly driven away the previously loyal fan base. And the result is a game that was far more balanced on release, although it was still terribly balanced compared to other COD games. That's right, even though they released a poorly balanced game, the changes they've made to it since then have made the balance issues even worse. The snipers are more dominant than ever, assault rifles can't compete with SMGs or shotguns, or even pistols at medium range. They can't compete with the snipers or LMGs even at medium range, where, these are medium range is where assault rifles are supposed to excel. They're not supposed to be good in close, they're not supposed to be good at long. That's their niche. They're supposed to be good at medium range, and they're not. SMGs, shotguns, and pistols, they dominate the close ranges. Snipers and LMGs, they dominate the long ranges. But now, everything except ARs also shares their dominance at medium range. ARs are simply left in the dust and ignored. The need for PC-specific balance changes has never been greater, but PC has received nothing but silence from Treyarch. And it's very sad and very disrespectful to a fan base that had really grown quite strong and quite fond of Treyarch after the triumph that was Black Ops 2. Anyway, moving on. The next three issues I want to talk about all sort of tie into each other, so I'm going to get to go through them a little more quickly than the previous two. The three things I want to talk about are map design, gun balance, and the movement system. As I said, they all sort of tie into each other to create the problems that I have with the game on PC. So let's first talk about the maps. From a subjective standpoint, the map design in Black Ops 3 results in a really stagnant, campy, slow-paced gameplay style that I personally find very boring and not fun at all. The ridiculous number of head glitch spots really limit the viability of rushing, flanking, and very much tend to discourage aggressive, objective gameplay. It's particularly a problem in Domination, where just about every B flag has little to no cover and about 1,000 head glitch spots looking out over it. Obviously, this provides a huge incentive to simply sit on these head glitch spots and go for streaks, rather than to actively push for flag caps. A lot of the maps are also questionably large for 6v6 gameplay. As a result, moving around and using close-range weapons is often very ineffective, and again, this really slows down the flow of the game and makes people simply camp sightlines with snipers or LMGs, because it allows for very easy, risk-free kills. There are also issues with map design from a purely objective standpoint, quite aside from how I personally prefer to play the game. I'm going to use Aquarium and Redwood as an example. These are both 3-lane maps, but in my opinion, they're very poorly designed. Now, if you look at the layout of Treyarch's maps in Black Ops 2, they were nearly all 3-lane maps. Whether you like 3-lane maps or not isn't really the point here. Some people like them, some people don't, whatever. But because the 3-lane maps in Black Ops 2 were at the very least sensibly designed. From any given side lane, it was easily possible to reach the middle lane, and more crucially, there was a route to the middle of the map, where all the action was, from the middle of each side lane. Now, if you look at the layout of Redwood and Aquarium, you'll notice that there's an entire lane on each that serves very little purpose. Basically, all they're useful for is flanking around to the opposite team's home flag if you want to try to flip the spawns. On these maps, it's impossible to swiftly reach the middle of the map from these lanes. They're completely cut off if you're unlucky enough to spawn in them. Other maps like Exodus suffer from the opposite problem, where there are simply too many routes in between lanes, meaning it comes down to a gamble when you're trying to figure out where people are. As a result, the flow of all of these maps is not very good, and by extension, the maps become not very fun to play. It's a shame because with a few minor tweaks, these maps could be quite alright. If Redwood had an entry point from, 2B from the lane with all the wooden platforms, for example, it would probably be one of my favorite maps. The flow of the game would be much better, and it'd be, it wouldn't be so campy or stagnant. Instead, we have a map with very little room for flanking. There's only one lane that it's really worth flanking on, and an entire side of the map that serves almost no purpose. Now, these maps might not be so bad if the gun balance in Black Ops 3 was different, and this is what I mean when I said that all these issues tied into each other. If the maps were going to have so many head glitch spots, then it was really important to encourage mobility in other ways, encourage moving around in other ways to ensure that Black Ops 3 didn't become head glitch the game. Instead, what Treyarch did was nerf mobility into the ground. The stock nerf is the most obvious example, but quite apart from stock, there is the issue of what happens when you start firing an AR or LMG. Even with stock, once you start shooting either of those weapon types, you slow to an absolute crawl. It's quite apart from the nerf to stock. You actually get slowed down by simply shooting the weapon. As you can imagine, this makes it very difficult to compete with head glitches if you're not also head glitching, and it also makes it difficult to compete with SMG users who can strafe back and forth at crazy speeds while still firing. Because of this, nobody, especially not your average player, ever wants to move from the safety of their head glitch spot when using an AR or LMG. It's very bad for the flow of the game, particularly as these weapon types in the past were what you would use to clear people out of their head glitch spots as you pushed up through a lane. Think back to how you would play in Black Ops 2 when you're trying to push a side lane and you're countering the people who are trying to head glitch. You would use an AR or an LMG because they were very powerful against people whose head was the only thing you could see. Instead, what we get is people taking pot shots at each other from as far away as possible, neither side wanting to leave the safety of their head glitch spot because they know that to do so would be putting them at a huge disadvantage. And again, it constricts the flow of gameplay and results in a very stagnant and, in my opinion, not fun gameplay style. Finally, we come to the last issue, which again ties into the previous two. This might come as a surprise, and I'm sure it will be quite controversial, but I think the way the movement system has been implemented in Black Ops 3 is very poor. When adding the movement system to Advanced Warfare, it was very clear what they were intending it to be for. It was supposed to enable more skillful gun-on-gun gameplay, as well as allowing room for more verticality and additional flanking routes. In Black Ops 3, the decision to make your view bubble like crazy whenever you boost jumped in a fight, essentially making it very difficult to aim, very much discourages the use of boost jumping in gunfights. So the movement system is obviously not primarily intended to grant extra survivability to good players in gunfights the way it did in Advanced Warfare. So what is it for then? In Titanfall, wall running was an excellent mechanic that allowed you to move across the map much faster than simply sprinting. It let you escape dangerous situations, it let you build up momentum to surprise people and win gunfights, or simply reach a part of the map faster than your opponent so you would be ready for him before he realized it. In Black Ops 3, none of this is the case. You don't move any faster by chaining wall runs together. You aren't difficult to hit when wall running, if anything you're easier to hit when wall running or jumping around. So the only thing we can really say the movement system is intended for is to allow for flanking, but in practice, all it really does is turn some of the lanes into gimmicky wall run paths. Take Combine, for example. This is effectively now a 2-lane map, not even a 3-lane map anymore, because one lane has been chopped off all to make a use for the wall running system. And the sad part is that in my experience, the wall running lane on that map tends to play very little part in the outcome of the game. I don't really ever use it. Enemies who do use it are very quickly and very easily disposed of. So what does it add that a simple third lane would not have? You could have still had a wall to run on in that third lane. The answer is nothing. The wall running in Black Ops 3 is the very definition of a gimmick. It's flashy, it makes people go, ooh, cool, that looks fun. But ultimately, it's not important to the outcome of the game or the way in which the game is played. So, when you bundle together the questionable map design, weapon balance geared towards nerfing mobility rather than buffing it, in a game where the maps are quite large, and add that to a rather gimmicky movement system, it all kind of snowballs together into a gameplay state that really isn't very enjoyable for me. If I wasn't able to play Nuketown so often, I probably would have stopped playing Black Ops 3 quite some time ago, and I think that really says more than I ever could with regards to what I think of Black Ops 3. So there you go. It's a rather sad state of affairs here on PC. especially given that it doesn't seem like Treyarch is interested in keeping PC players happy. I know we're a small minority compared to the legions who play on console, but I really don't think it would take that much to keep us happy and quiet, and there's simply no reason for Treyarch to neglect the PC player base the way they have. You know, it's quite galling, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, I'm out of time here, so I'm gonna finish up. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again soon. Peace out, everyone. Love you all.